Hello, Perfect Death here, bringing another video for Ragnarok Online Mobile. In this video, I'm going to cover and just talk a bit about runes for the Crusader branch, because as you play through the game, you're going to be acquiring these various runes over time, so I figure I'll talk a bit about what kind of runes are good for what, and what to look for, what to build for, because the gradual thing is that you convert the B rank runes to A rank runes to S rank runes, and so kind of having an idea of where you want to go and what you want to look for when you get a roll, we'll go over that. So I'll start by talking about the Crusader runes, and we'll just go through the B runes. There's only really 3 in here, so Shield Boomerang, Shield Chain, these are pretty good for farming, boss hunting if you're using the Shield Chain build. Or this one is very good if you can get a really high first line on the Gale Wind rune, because this plus a cool cast delay time reduction for the Aesir rune that you can get as well. This will make the Shield Boomerang skill cast very fast, comparable to Shield Chain, which gets rid of one of the big weaknesses of using a Shield Boomerang to farm or anything like that. And this one, you can get the extra range, but for that, the extra damage can be very nice for if your build is set up for that. It's just extra damage. Now, this one can be pretty useful for getting your resistances up high. The curse resistance, not really that useful, but the poison and the fear resistances can get quite useful. Poison, that can really melt you down. This is actually based off of your passive that you get, so at level 3 you can have a 30% bonus to these, so this can get you up to an extra 10% on either of them depending on your role. So if, let's say, you want to deal with poison fog and that you find that's a problem for you all the time, then getting the second line on this would be, or the second roll for this would be really useful. Or if you're looking to build, get more fear resistance, this can be quite good. So with the B's out of the way, we go to the A's. There's 4 of these. The Fearless rune, I've seen this used for certain situations where you want to reduce auto attack damage by basically reducing the attack speed. And so this applies some extra bonuses to using Fearless, the skill. The crit resistance is actually in Thanatos Tower something that you don't want, because in Thanatos Tower, boss crits do not get HP percentage damage added onto them. So you find that boss crits deal significantly less damage to you in Thanatos Tower. Therefore, you actually want the bosses to crit you. So actually having higher crit resistance is something that you might want to avoid for that. But in other situations, this can be quite useful. It was a pretty big staple for tanking the Fire Oxes in Oracle Nightmare, though I've heard it's been changed a bit, so now you can't make it so it's harder for them for you to block all of their damage. So the next one, Saint Chant rune, this buffs your battle chant, and then there's this second line here which gives an extra healing bonus during battle chant for everyone. Now, I've just recently got a comparable rune between these two where they had a 5% difference between each stat, and a check showed that this first line is very strong for particularly you. So this one is the one you'd probably want the biggest weight on if you wanted to use a rune for this one, whereas this second line, it's not quite as potent for this skill. So first line better, second line Iron Hoof. This one kind of talked about a bit in the Earth Drive build video. The damage bonus, very nice if you want to just make this skill hit a lot harder. And the second line is if you want this skill to stun stuff. So if you get both of these pie rolls, great, but depending on what you want to use it for, whether you want to use it for AoE stun or just damage, that's the difference between it there. And then this one here, this is for if you're running a Grand Cross, because it gets rid of fixed cast time, which is quite useful, and then boosts damage. So this one's pretty straightforward, depending on what you wanted. If you got a really high fixed cast time and you're using Grand Cross to farm because it's an AoE, that could be useful. Now on to the S runes. There's a lot of these, and this first rune here is generally considered one of the first that you'd want to aim for, because this auto guard blocking animation is really nasty. It can not only prevent you from moving, but it can also desync your client from the server. Some of my other videos I've sort of shown it a bit, but essentially your position on your client will be different from where the server considers you, and things can get weird when that happens. So this second line is very useful, to the point that if you don't have it, you pretty much don't want to use auto guard unless you are just going to stand in one spot. But if you want to move around and you're getting attacked and you have auto guard on, good luck moving unless you have this rune. So this second line is extremely powerful. The first line, yeah, it's good. It's good if you can get it, but if you have like a 1% roll and then you have this second line, then it's still a very, very strong rune. On to the Blood Sacrifice rune. This one, the third line is definitely strong because it gives you 3 extra charges on your sacrifice use, and that means that you spend less time recasting, which you cannot attack during that recast animation, so it just means a bigger burst of damage from sacrifice. The move speed and attack speed, these can be nice, but definitely that second line is very potent for just burst damage for sacrifice. If you don't have this and you're fighting someone, you can usually see when you're whacking away at a guy and his health gets down really low, but then you have to stop, recast, and then the guy runs away, and you're like, ah, dang, if only I had a few more charges, and then he'd be dead, right? Steel Protection. This one improves the effect of the King's Guardian skill, the range, and then this attribute that makes it so you can cast it on yourself. So King's Guardian is a very potent damage reduction skill, but because it only works on your teammates within a smaller area around yourself, its use is fairly niche. So having the extra range can be nice, but this would definitely be the lowest priority for you to roll for. This third line can be very good for you because it gives you a ton of extra damage reduction from the skill and whatever this first line here is. So I've seen people usually will not prioritize this one for unless they've got the other runes that they want for tanking, because this doesn't extend the duration of the effect or anything like that. And one of the weak points of King's Guardian is it has a shorter duration than the skill delay, so you cannot recast the skill for quite some time after the effect is worn off. So there's a dead period where nobody has the reduction effect of it. So it's definitely a strong skill in a short period of time, but that means, because it's not always up, you can get really wrecked in between those charges. So Fortitude Shield, this one, compared to the King's Guardian bonus here, you can see it's a lower damage reduction, right? It's potentially half of the damage reduction. This one's a 20, this one's a 10. This one also can give you melee damage reduction as well. So, but this one's always up because Guardian Shield is a passive for you. It's just, this is a flat increase on that passive. So this one's going to always give you that bonus. But the one thing that people usually try to roll this one for is this third line down here. Because sure, these are nice, but having your shield not be removed is really nice, especially if you get this, auto guard one where, you can run around and block stuff. The default auto guard block rate is 50%, so that's potentially 50% damage reduced over, a period of time. So having that stripped not only can get rid of a lot of your shield skills, like Earth Drive or Shield Chain, but, it also gets rid of your auto guard. So the second line for making your shield indestructible, it's not bad, but this third line is definitely good. So if you got a low roll on this first one, you didn't get the second one, not a big deal if you get the third one, because, that's strip prevents you from re-equipping your shield for quite some time, and that can be big. So next one, Blood Cross Rune. This is for Overbrand build. If you're running Overbrand, this one's going to give you lots of damage, lots of splash damage, though this third line here, so the way that this works is if you hit someone and their HP is lower than 5% of your current HP, so if you're at 100k HP at the time, then when the other guy is down at like 5k HP, then he will die, which isn't actually that useful. You'd have to have full health, whacking on someone, and in most cases at the point where you would hit this instant kill threshold, they would be able to be killed by pretty much any other skill at that time. So it's actually a fairly weak third line, even though it does trigger the instant kill along with its splash damage. So if you hit somebody and then the guy next to them is sitting at 5%, then they would also die. So it's potentially cool, but this first line in particular, that's a very good one for this. The second one is also useful because of the splash, but for sure, first line is very strong for this one. And then Charging Leader, I did a video talking about this one, but for sure with this one, this third line here, it effectively doubles the damage of your Earth Drive because you can cast it manually while this is auto casting your Earth Drive. The first line is good for just keeping Command Charge active as much as possible with as little downtime, and then the second one is just more damage based on your move speed. But for sure with this one, the third line is what you would want to aim for. And then lastly we have the Righteous Rune. This one makes your prestige passive reduce your opponent's damage increase and magic damage increase modifiers. So this is a debuff, which makes it pretty good for PvP in particular, because a lot of people will stack a variety of ways just to increase their damage. You can do things like try to increase your damage reductions to reduce damage you're taking, like this skill for example, damage reductions, but there is a cap where you will effectively hit a damage reduction cap, though people will have penetration percentages which will negate that, so then you can go over your damage reduction cap to compensate for the reductions or the penetrations that people are doing. This one is a different way of reducing damage you take by just reducing the source of it, your opponent's actual damage increases. The skill itself, it reduces the attack and magic attack. And so this one adds a damage increase and magic damage increase reduction, so those are different stats. The second line means that the effective prestige is longer. So prestige will, by default, trigger when somebody hits your auto guard. So once auto guard is triggered, then they get this debuff for 5 seconds. And so this will give it more duration. So if you're getting hit a lot, then this really doesn't matter because it'll just refresh it way before 5 seconds. The third line, though, makes it so that any damage triggers the prestige. And that's pretty good for different kinds of, like Magic Trap, for example, Tetravortex, those are skills that can hit you without auto guard blocking. But this means that you will apply the prestige debuff onto someone if they use a skill that auto guard cannot block. So that means more frequent prestige ticks on people, and so depending on that, you would want a good first line and a good third line if you can. Deciding about whether you want the first line, like if you got a really good first line roll and then your second roll you got a third line but then a low roll up there, that's where things get a little confusing. So for example, I just recently got 2 righteous runes. I have one with the prestige and a 7.1%, and then this one over here. Oh, my client froze up. Hooray. There we go. Gotta love idling in Prontera. And this one is a 12.4, so almost twice as much of a damage increase and magic damage increase reduction compared to the other one. So this one's going to reduce incoming damage more, but it's not going to trigger it from any kind of damage. So that's currently why I'm using the one with the third line, even though it's a lower reduction. And yeah, that's sort of my idea behind that one, which is why I was going to run this. So I've also got some other ones, like I recently also did a test on the Saint Chant one with the Battle Chant effect, and then I got another one here with a lower first line, higher second line, and it's a big difference. This does not really help you out very much. So first line's very strong, and then I also have these 2 ones here. One has the third line for this, the other has a high roll on melee damage reduction. So with this one, I'd probably still use this one for the strip prevention for the shield, whereas this one, it has higher reductions, but yeah. So ideally, that's what you would want to look for. Like, you can try to see if you can get the best rolls possible, or my plan is I'm trying to get more of them, because currently with the rune box you have only the 3 here, but they're going to add 6. So I'm working on getting some extras. So I'm trying to spread them out instead of just constantly rolling to see if I can get the best possible roll for the runes that I use, since I'm going to get 3 extras of these. So that'll be it for this video. Take care.